Hello, welcome and welcome back, everyone. My name is Parish Dahir. I'm a student at Rahan School Karangi campus, and today we've got Gabe Gabrielle on the other end of the line. So, hello, thank you so much for joining me, and over to you for a quick introduction.
Yes, hi. Well, good morning from here. Good evening to you. It's a pleasure to have this opportunity. I thank you for the chance. And my name is Gabe. It's a nickname. That's what my friends call me. So I was an engineer, civil structural type of engineer for NASA at Kennedy Space Center for 17 years. Super cool thing to do. So much fun. I like to talk about experiences while I was there. And then about 9 years ago, I was doing a lot of speaking, and I was doing more and more international speaking, and there wasn't enough hours in the day to do both. So I had kind of looked at my financial situation, and I didn't want to charge schools money. I wanted just to go speak at schools for the joy of doing it. So it was really important for me that I didn't want to charge. And so I was able to look at everything and say, okay, if I'm smart and I'm careful, I can do this. And so I quit my job and I said, okay, I'm just going to become a full-time speaker. And it's been amazing. It's the most amazing thing I've ever done in my life. And most recently going to Pakistan was just so much fun. And I'm really looking forward to coming back to Pakistan. And what I don't even fully understand how much I get from this. People, I don't charge money. I pay my own airfare. I make all the arrangements. I don't ask for anything except the opportunity to speak with students because I know so many struggle around the world. One of the things I've learned doing this, I've been to 18 countries. We are identical. In Pakistan, you're no different than students in Australia or in Norway. I just went from Pakistan to Norway. Just think of the two difference in those cultures, one to the other. Same thing everywhere. But I get so much from it. Just speaking with you now, I see your smile. I see you. You look excited to have life, and if I can somehow add to that or encourage you to do that, it comes back to me so many times more. If somebody would have said to me, Gabe, one day you're going to be a public speaker, I would have said, there's no way in the world. I will bet everything I have I would never be a speaker anywhere, anytime, anyway. So the whole thing is crazy to me. It's just fun, and I'm just enjoying it the best I can. And I never question anything. I just accept it. No good or no bad. It doesn't matter. You accept it and you make the best of it and you go forward and you enjoy it. This is the challenge to me in life. Not to do something, but to enjoy doing it. I talk about three things. Do your best, enjoy what you do, believe in yourself. If you learn those three things, you will never work. Nothing will ever be hard. You will never have stress. You'll never have pressure.
Diamonds are formed under pressure, and you said that you don't put pressure on yourself, it's unnecessary.
Yeah, I don't like to use certain types of words. I say challenge. Challenge yourself. How well can I do this? It doesn't matter. Challenge yourself to do your best. And when you do that, you should feel good about your effort. Feel good about yourself. It doesn't mean you're better than anybody else. I talk a little bit about my life when I do these presentations, and I really, really struggled in school. I hated school, especially in high school. And I talk about when I was in school, if I had to get up and give a talk in school, I didn't go to school. And our high school's for 4 years. So for 4 years, every time I had to give a talk or they told me I had to give a talk, I just didn't go to school. And they couldn't drag me to school. So I would not get up and speak in front of people anywhere anyway. And just lack of self-confidence. And, I struggled like so many other kids did. So I understand that side of it. So the fact that I do this now, it amazes me. And sometimes, I'm in some countries and there may be 500, 600, 700 people in the audience. And people say, are you nervous? I said, no, I'm excited. It's fun. It's something I enjoy doing. And I live this way. And that's what I try to share, as well as the magic of the space program when I'm traveling around and speaking at schools. And the most important thing, believe in yourself. Very few people have belief in themselves. Doesn't matter how much money they have. Doesn't matter how much success they have. It's why they have stress. That's why they have pressure. They don't have that belief in themselves. And if you learn to get that belief in yourself, for you, I look at you and I think, wow, she's a bright girl. She's smart. She's pretty. She should have her life. Everything about her life should be good. Doesn't matter how I see you. It matters how you see yourself. So I'm sure you have many dreams and many goals. Take one of those goals and write it down. One of those dreams, write it down. Say, this is my goal. and ask yourself, what steps do I take to achieve it? And plan very small steps. Don't be in a hurry. The slower the step, the easier it is to accomplish. The easier it is to accomplish, it helps you build that belief and confidence in yourself. And you build and build and build. And one day you say to yourself, I can do anything.
You saying all of this makes me so shocked that you thought at one point you could never become a motivational speaker. I think that's one of the effects high school has on people, that it really lowers their self-esteem and makes them pretty insecure.
Yeah, I don't know that that's high school so much. Every day in life you have a new adventure, you have a new challenge. High school is a challenge. It's a big turning point in your life. It's really pivotal on what you're going to do the rest of your life. So often it's approached that, is so important. I can't mess up. I can't make a mistake. Just do your best. Pass through it wherever it takes you. You will enjoy. You know, uh, High school can be, especially for girls. Many girls, you're always taught as a girl, if you feel good about yourself, you're conceited, and that's wrong. Many girls look for negatives in themselves, so they, no matter how successful they are, they never feel good about themselves. Girls have to learn, just like boys, girls have to learn it's okay to feel good about yourself. It doesn't mean you think you're better than anybody else. But if you don't like yourself, if you don't feel good about yourself, how can you expect others to feel good about you? It doesn't matter how I see you. And when I see you, I see a very bright, very pretty, very, to me, ambitious girl who's going to be successful at whatever she does. That's what I see from the little time we're talking. But it doesn't matter what I see. It matters what you see. You've got to learn to find positives in yourself. Feel good about yourself. Always say to girls, you look your absolute best when you wake up in the morning. One eye may be closed, your hair may be a mess. You look at that person and you say, I look pretty good. The rest of the day will be easy. So learn to feel good about yourself. Learn those three things. The only limits you have, I can tell by looking at you, are those you put on yourself.
A guy does it, then that'll seem like they're being egotistical, I guess, in that they think too highly of themselves, that they need to lower their own standards.
Most girls are taught if you feel good about yourself, you're conceited. And this is wrong. Guys aren't taught that way. We Life is much different from the genders. Uh, uh, I just think life is easier as a guy. There's not so much. I just think expectations of how girls look, they're much different on themselves than we don't see billboards. We don't see movies. We don't see everything where there's the best look. The guy's all muscular and all. Everything about this guy is perfect that we're comparing ourselves to. I think often girls are comparing themselves to what they see on TV, what they see in the movies, and it's hard to live up to those expectations. But I think, I do think that there's more. I don't want to say pressure, but girls try harder to be something other than themselves.
Though I do gotta say, I think that it really depends on what field you're looking at. Because if we're talking about physical appearance, then yeah, definitely there's a double standard in that. But you don't really have guys getting as many compliments as girls, I think, because I notice how many compliments I get versus my brother. I think that in their own in their own category, they're struggling. Like more people will ask a guy, how much money are you earning, rather than a girl, how much money you're earning. So maybe they might get insecure about that. So both are struggling, both genders. You can't really decide how bad someone's struggle is based on their gender. It doesn't tell you that much, to be honest. But
Yeah,
really good answer.
that's a really great response, and I never really kind of looked at it that way. Yeah, you really have a very pleasant way about you, and I just looking at you, I think you're going to be successful. Enjoy every.
I can't go for, nitpick each detail you said and give an input for that. But I was listening, and honestly, that was really heartwarming, everything you said. Thank you.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It's interesting that you bring that up because often guys are expected to earn so much to be certain things, and women aren't really expected. Although I think women have that expectations on themselves. Uh, the time for me, the gender difference as far as earning, it's always going to be easier for guys. I think as far as moving up a corporate ladder or being accepted. When I was in Pakistan, I was over there for Future Fest, and I met 3 young women, and they had been working for different companies, and each one of them was tired of guys telling them what to do and not listening. So they got together and they formed their own company, and they're doing very well. But yeah, I think it's a very interesting perspective that yeah, guys do have different ways to feel inadequate about themselves. But it doesn't matter to me. We all want to just do our best and enjoy what we do and believe in ourselves. And wherever that takes us, accept it and enjoy it. We can always try to improve, but be thankful for what we have. I'm thankful every minute of every day. I just feel so fortunate all the time, and I try to give back any way I can. And one of the reasons I do go to schools, and just like I'm speaking with you, I try to talk to students about having a happy life and feeling good about yourselves, and having those goals and those dreams, and just feeling good. We should always enjoy what we have. So many people focus on what they don't have, and it's great to have ambition, it's great to have goals, but never stop appreciating what you have as you have it. I say to people, if you had to pick one day in your whole life, just one, and I said to you, if you have to pick one day, what would be the most important day of your life? What would you say to me?
The day I was born, or is that not?
So to me, the answer is the day you are in. The day you were born, that was the most important day. The day you get married, that will be the most important. It's always the day you are in. Every day when you pass through it, you create your past, you build your future. If you can focus on just one day and say to myself, no matter what happens today, I'm going to enjoy everything. I'm not going to have a negative experience. No matter what happens, I'm going to enjoy it from morning till night. Just have to do that one day in my whole life. And you do that every day, and you have a great life. It's really, really simple. It's 100% mental, and that's what people don't understand. Either way, you're going to do the same thing. It's how you mentally approach it. If you learn to approach things in a positive way, everything else follows, and your life will be happy, and you'll be very successful. When I came back from Pakistan last time, I had different connections and different layovers. So my time from I left Pakistan till I got to America was going to be 50 hours. So think about that. I'm getting ready to leave on a trip for 50 hours, which means I won't sleep for 2 nights. Who knows where I'm going to eat, what I'm going to have no clue what I'll be doing over the 50 hours. I have a 16-and-a-half-hour layover one place, 11-and-a-half-hour another place, long flights. And so when I left, I said to myself, okay, this is going to be an interesting experience. I want to enjoy every minute of it. I'm going to approach this 50 hours, 1 minute at a time. No matter what happens, I don't care what I am, what I'm doing, I'm going to enjoy that minute. And when I got back to America, after the 50 hours, I had a great time, and it went really fast. And I stopped and I looked in the mirror and I said, that was pretty good. If you can do that, you can do anything. We want to learn to do things mentally. It's so important. I could have passed through those 50 hours being miserable every second and had a terrible time, or I could have had fun. It was 100% mental. And that's what I try to teach when I'm speaking, and that's how I live. Every day is fun for me. It doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter what happens. I'm always thankful. I always say it could be worse. I never have a bad experience, and I'm very, very thankful for this.
That's a very optimistic perspective. Actually, do you think that you're shielding yourself from reality by changing your perspective, or do you think you're changing your reality based on the story you gave me and the examples?
That's a really interesting way to look at it. To me, I don't try to rationalize things too much. I just do them. When I get up every morning, I have certain things I think I'm going to do. Very seldom do I do that. I get sidetracked to do something else, I just try to enjoy it. I don't know if that's shielding yourself from reality. It's my reality. It's how I live and how I see things and how I pass through the day. So somebody else may look at me and say, you're shielding yourself from reality, but I don't agree, because I'm passing through the day. It's just how I'm choosing to look at the day. I could do the same thing and find negatives in everything. Would that make it more real? I doubt it. I could find somewhere in the middle. For me, I choose to be optimistic. I always look for optimistic, and I'm always thankful no matter what happens. It gives me a happy life. So whether other people think it's good or bad, I'm having a happy life. They can criticize me and be unhappy, but I'm having fun. I try to help others. I always try to help others. I do everything I can with the interviews. I get many requests for interviews. I do all the interviews. I visit schools. I don't ask for money. I'm doing it for the joy of doing it. And for me, I'm just so thankful that I've got this attitude, and I try to share it with others. I don't think I'm any different. I know I'm no different. I just somehow got this attitude, and I'm just enjoying the ride.
You're right. Reality is technically just a perspective. When people self-diagnose themselves with depression, then after that they fall into this sort of rabbit hole where they say, "Oh, I'm depressed, so I won't get out of bed," and then ultimately they become depressed. What you're doing here is you're really shaping your own reality.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing that you're a very smart girl. Yeah, a very great way of looking at that. You seem to be aware of many different things, and I really like the way you're listening to me and asking me to say something else about what I've said. I think it just shows you're interested and you're curious and you're not quite sure, so you're asking me to expand on it. But for me, I don't think I'm any different than anything. One of the things that started me doing this in the first place, I'm at Kennedy Space Center. So Kennedy Space Center is the most amazing place in the world. I tell people every day, going there is just magical. Everywhere you look, every building, every wall, there's pictures of stars, of the universe, and so your mind is going to these magical places, and it's just fun to walk around and see all this stuff because your mind is going to these make believe places to me. And then you see a big building, you see a ship being put together, see a payload put on top of it, goes to a launch pad, and you see it take off, going to these magical places. So your imagination becomes reality. It's just so much fun. Launches are amazing, everything about it. We live by the beach, the sun is shining. It's just a gorgeous place to be in and get involved. And many of the people complain. They complain every day. They come in on Monday and they say, "Oh, I can't wait till Friday." What do you mean? I got 5 days to work. This is not work. But they've got it in their mind, this mindset, this is work, and work is not good, and hard work is even worse. So most people leave work at the end of the day physically exhausted, and they've done nothing physical. They've just been sitting there doing things, yet they're physically exhausted. Well, why is that? It's the mental drain. They're mentally drained, and drain is draining them physically. I have a good buddy in India, and his name is Kumar. And I've known Kumar now about 5 years. And a couple of years ago, I thought he was always stressed, always wore out. I said, "Kumar, you're so smart. If you just enjoy what you do during the day, you will not be tired at the end of the day." But he was stressed and he had put so much pressure on himself, he was exhausted every day. For 2 years, I kept on him, "Kumar, 2 years, 2 years." At the end of 2 years, he said to me, "I never believed it was possible. The whole time you told me I could have fun and be less tired, I never believed it was possible. But I've learned to do it, and I'm having fun. I'm no longer tired when I leave work. I'm doing better at work. I'm having fun, and I never thought it was possible." So, one of the things for me, Pakistan and India, I mentioned in my first visit to Pakistan, when I was first invited to go to Pakistan, my perception of Pakistan was a terrible place based on 9/11 and only what we hear about Pakistan in America. So much different from India, but only hear negative things about Pakistan, the most negative things you can imagine. Suicide bombers, that's a haven for terrorists, people wanting to shoot you. I mean, it's just don't go to Pakistan, don't go to Pakistan. So when I had the opportunity to go and I went, I was absolutely amazed at how talented you are, how smart you are, how ambitious you are, the country, the culture, the universities, how many positives there are about Pakistan. I was just completely engulfed by how great you as people are, how kind you are. And so, I tend to think we're all alike, and I just feel very good. So these people at Kennedy Space Center, they're going to work and saying, "Oh, I got to work. Well, why do you think this way? It's not work." And I came to the conclusion it's just learned behavior. When they were growing up, they were taught about work hard, stress and pressure, and so they're living it. And they don't even stop to look around and say, "Look at what I have." They're just so taught this learned behavior about stress and pressure. So one of the reasons I started doing that, well, why am I different? Why am I having so much fun and they're so miserable? We're doing the same thing, and many of them, to me, were much more talented than me. And I said, okay, it's just the way I'm looking at things. And somehow it evolved to where it is now as a motivational speaker. But it all started just totally by accident.
Well, actually, I think you might relate to this topic a bit because at the start you said you hated school, but somehow you became an engineer.
It's interesting. I hated school, but I did okay in math and science. I without applying myself to it, I found it interesting. One of the reasons I hated school, and I tell when I do the talk why I hated school, is I love the beach and I love sports. So when I was a little kid, they dragged me off the beach, they put me in a box, and they said read, and I didn't want to do that. So I really, really struggled because I wanted to be outside. I wanted to be doing something else. I didn't want to be in a classroom. I didn't want to be inside. I call it in a box. And I didn't like to read. I wanted to be jumping up and down, doing something. And so I really, really struggled that way. But even in high school, I did okay in math and science. I didn't do well in anything, particularly well in anything, but I didn't do as bad in those two. And so there was a little bit of an interest in there. And I like mechanics. I like racing cars, and I like building cars. So somehow I think it kind of tied together a little bit. But yeah, I at the time I really didn't like anything in school. If it had anything to do with school, I wanted to go somewhere else. If it was, do you want to do math or go to the beach? I'm going to the beach. Do you want to do science to go play sports? I'm playing sports. And that was pretty much how I got through high school. And when I finished high school, I tell the story. I said I was finished. I'm never going back to school again. And after 12 years, for 12 years, I tried many different things. And I like to race cars. And one of my hobbies is racing cars. So you have to generate a good income in order to be able to race cars. And I couldn't do it without the university degree. So after 12 years of being out of high school, I went to school at night. It took me 8 more years to finish at night. And eventually I did get an engineering degree, or a math science degree, which I went into an engineering field.
Didn't all that stress, pressure, and hard work of going to university for 8 years at night, didn't that lead to the fun you were having?
It was all fun. When I was going to school and university, I went to university. I had been out of school 12 years. I'd had many jobs, and I had feel pretty good about what I could do. I felt I could do almost anything. I really did. I just felt good that, hey, I can do anything. But without a university degree, a piece of paper that says you've been to university, you don't have opportunities. So even if you're able to do it without the degree, you can't get the opportunity. So I went to university basically to get the piece of paper so I could get opportunities. But I had fun in university. I thought it was great. I was in Florida. I was going by the beach during the day, going to class at night. It was all fun for me. I was racing cars on the weekend. I just didn't think about too much. It was all fun. People that you say to me, "Hey, Gabe, how old are you?" I'm going to say I'm 19, and you're going to look at me and say, "What do you mean you're 19?" And I'm going to say to you, "I know I look a lot younger, but I'm really 19." And you're going to look at me again. And the reason I say that is my life changed tremendously between 18 and 19. Up to 18, I struggled really, really in everything I did except for sports. And between 18 and 19, my whole life changed. By the time I got to be 19, everything was fun. I just, for whatever reasons, a combination of things, I don't know exactly what happened, but by the time I was 19, everything just got fun. I really didn't have stress. I really didn't have pressure. I just did things, and I enjoyed doing them, and that's been my life ever since. So that's why I'm staying mentally 19. I want to stay in this fun age, that fun excitement of getting up every day, of seeing what life has to offer, seeing how well can I do it. I challenge myself with everything. You said something earlier about challenging myself. I challenge myself with everything to enjoy it, to see how well I can do it, to try to help others. If you help others for the joy of helping, people always say to me, "You give so much," and I try. You don't understand. I'm getting way more than I'm giving. I can't explain it, but I feel it. And when I help others, I'm thankful, first of all, that I can. And I'm just thankful for the ability to be able to do that. If you do that with no expectations, just for the joy of doing it, it comes back 1,000 times. If you do it with any kind of expectations, you're always going to be disappointed and you won't enjoy it. So learn to me to do things for the joy of doing it. For those guys at Kennedy Space Center complaining about their job, complaining about everything, really, really sad to me that they had this mental perspective. And they're passing it on to their own kids as well.
If you were enjoying your life so much around the time you were 18 to 19, you must have been doing something right, because especially in Western cultures, I think that's especially when you get the most independence until that time. Also, you said that when you do something and then you expect something in return, it won't come back, you won't get that reward. How does that quiet intention in your heart affect the possible reward?
Well, I can't really explain it. It's a feeling I have. But when I do things to help others, I fix cars. People come by, I fix their car. I don't charge anybody any money. I feel fortunate that I'm able to do what I'm able to do, and I'm able to help others. I know most people struggle. They really, really struggle with the mental approach to their day. Most people's lives are filled with stress and pressure and worrying about money and worry about their kids, and they're just never really happy. And I try to let others know that, hey, you can do the same thing, and you can find a different mental approach. Girls will listen. I'm writing with hundreds and hundreds of students around the world. Probably 90% are girls. Guys have the fixed thing in their mind and they won't change. If I'm speaking with you and you want to learn, or anybody wants to learn, you have to be willing to do three things to learn. First, you have to be willing to listen. Then you have to be willing to evaluate, and then you have to adapt. So you listen to what I say, you evaluate it, how does it apply to me, and then you adapt it to your life as you see fit. So girls to me are able to look, we are different. We are definitely different. Girls are able to look through things and see consequences much better than most guys. We just do things and don't care about it. But if you're willing to do those three things, you can learn. But with expectations, if I do something nice for you because I think I'm going to get something back from it, and then I don't get something back, I'm disappointed, and I didn't even enjoy doing something nice. If I feel good about myself and I feel, hey, I can help her a little bit, I will do it and help her have a better life. It makes me feel good. But I can't expect you to say thank you, thank you, thank you, or in order for me to feel good about it. And that's what most people do. They do things with expectations. And for me, it's people always saying, you must have an ulterior motive. Why are you doing this? Why aren't you charging money? People say you could make so much money. And I try to explain it's what I get from it. First of all, I'm fortunate enough that I can afford to do it. And yeah, I could keep that money and spend it on something else, but no matter what I spend it on, I wouldn't get the same joy as what I'm doing this. And so my life is always about positives. You find positives in everything you do, and you feel good about yourself and your life. And once you learn to do that, your life just gets so much easier. You're going to do the same thing either way. It's just how you mentally approach it. If you can learn to mentally approach everything in a positive way, your days are going to be good. I always say, never lend money to someone. If somebody says to you, look, I need to borrow some money, just give it to them. If you lend it to them, chances are it's never going to come back. The president stays waiting for it, and you're never going to have it. So just give it to them. If it comes back, feel good about it. But most of the time, it's not coming back.
You still give people money.
Yes.
And you fix cars for free.
Yes.
For absolutely nothing. Like you gain nothing materialistic out of it.
It's not materialistic, but mentally. Mentally, there's not enough money in the world that can give me what I get from doing that. I just feel good that I'm able to help somebody, save them some money. It doesn't cost me anything. It doesn't alter my life in a way. I'd be doing something else, but if I'm helping somebody or doing something else, for me, it's all about doing your best and having fun doing it. And when you help people, to me, for the joy of doing it, and that's what people don't understand. People are so conditioned to only do something because they want something in return. So people look at me and are always saying, you must have a reason. You can't be doing this without something. And I try to explain, I get something from it. It's not, you're 100%, it's not materialistic in any way, but it's a good feeling that no materialistic things can equal if you do it for the right reason.
Wow, you really have a heart for gold. So can you fix like a specific component in a car, or can you fix like the full car?
Yeah, I can do almost anything. I can fix the engine. I can fix, all of the parts of it. I can build cars. I used to build cars and race cars. So the cars I race are older cars. The cars from today are so much more technically advanced with computers, and these kinds of cars I really can't do something with, but I can fix brakes and I can fix, small intermittent problems. But if it starts to get into the computer control stuff, I'm not really so good at that. But older cars that didn't have computers, you don't know anything about that, but older cars that didn't have computers, I do pretty good with those. And most
Wait, are
mechanics.
you talking, when you say computers, do you mean automatic and manual cars?
No, all cars are computer controlled. So in every car, there's a computer, like your laptop. There's a computer that controls all the facets of the car. How much air is going in the engine, how much fuel is going in the engine, how everything fires. That's all controlled by computer. And in order to adjust that, you have to hook up a laptop and you have to go to a program and you have to reprogram the computer to do different things. So I'm not used to that. The cars I deal with were older and they didn't have those computer controls. So I'm not very good at that kind of stuff. But let's say you had a water pump that pumps water through the car. This failed. I could replace that. I could replace different components of the car. I can fix the brakes, fix the lights. Anytime somebody just needs something, whatever it might be, if they come by, I try to help them out.
Actually, do you think that this is something everyone should know? How to fix basic things about cars? I feel like you know a lot about cars.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I love doing these interviews, and you're really good. I really like the way you're approaching this.
Oh, thank you. This is my first interview.
This is your first interview? Wow, that's good. Then you'll always remember me.
I'll always, actually.
Right now everybody has a cell phone, so if you have a problem, you can usually call somebody to help you. But yeah, you should be able at least to know how to change a tire if you have a flat somewhere, and especially even girls. Like I said, girls to me are no different. Girls are very physically fit now and can do many things mechanically as well as guys because you've adapted to the modern world in many ways. But yeah, I think basic knowledge is good, but not everybody has an interest in it. And if you have an interest in it, it's good. If you don't, then it's not anything negative as well. But I think everybody should have at least a basic knowledge of how to do certain things, but not everybody. If they don't, I don't think negatively of them.
Good point. It's practically modern survival now.
Survival, think enjoy. I never say certain words. I never say work. I never say hard. I never say fail. Do you know you can never fail? No matter what you do, you will never fail. Anytime you do something, you learn. And when you learn, you become a better and wiser person. So you never fail. You always learn. And you learn more when things don't go well. This is your first interview, so I'm not sure how you prepared for it, but you've done very well. Much different than most of them as far as the questions you're asking. We just seem to be talking. I'm not sure how things are going, but and I meant to tell you earlier, one of the questions I was asked by one of the students on this kind of thing, what was your earliest memory? And I thought that was an interesting question. And I remember saying playing with cars. As a really, really young, I always liked cars. So it's interesting that you caught up on that. But yeah, so for me, everybody can learn a little bit, but if you don't have the interest, then there's nothing wrong with that. You just have to be dependent on others for everything. I can't believe it's your first interview. You really seem to be very at ease doing it.
Oh, yeah, because I was really excited to do this interview, especially when you replied.
Oh, I apply to everybody. I reply to everybody. I do all of the interviews. I'm right now. I probably have 5 or 6 after you the next 5 or 6 days, and then I've got 3 or 4 people waiting for me to get them in the list to do more. So I do a lot of them, and I just try to do them because I know most of the interviews I do, like with you, you really seem to be interested in what you're doing. You listen to the answers, you actually evaluate the answers, and your mind is thinking about questions based on the answers. And I think that's great. And I think many of you learn a lot by doing it. And if I can be a positive part of your, or any positive influence on you, I would like to do that. I think you will listen and you will learn from everybody, and we can learn from everybody. But remember, we never fail. Never be afraid to try something. You can never fail.
I think all of my classmates, they're all really good, but I think there's just a small language barrier, especially since they're they're also learning English. So maybe that's why they're not as responsive. And one more thing I want to say about failure, you said that you can never fail, right?
Right. Yes.
Don't you think that kind of depends on what you consider to be failure? Because to me, it seems like you don't view failure as something real. And if it is a learning experience, then what if the price is too high? What if you mess up with your business and now you're $46,000 in debt?
Yes, but it's learning. It's life. Life is filled with many challenges along the way. And sometimes some are create many obstacles that lead to more challenges. But it's part of a learning curve. You never want to second guess this decision. And when you make a decision, if 1 second later you realize, based on what you learned, it was not the decision you would like to do again, you cannot fault yourself. You cannot say, I shouldn't have done that. I should have known. Well, you didn't know. So to me, life is an adventure. It's a challenge. How well can I do? How well can I enjoy? Yeah, maybe you've lost $46,000, and maybe you got a whole new set of challenges. But you can see, you can walk, you can live, you can overcome these challenges. I talk about my best friend, and when I'm doing the presentation, my best friend is blind. He cannot see anything, but he does everything, and he's amazing. So I'm around a person who's blind, and a lot. And do I have a problem? I can see. No matter what happens, I can see. He can't see. He would change any problem I have for his, and he never complains. And he has all of the problems I have as well. So I'm very appreciative of the basics that most people don't take. They take for granted that you can walk, that you can see. And leading up to this decision, where you made a decision that cost you all of this money and cost you all of these new challenges. So what? If you wait to make a decision that you're going to be right, you're never going to make a decision. And you never make a wrong decision. Anytime you make a decision, even if it's not what you want, you learn. You take that knowledge forward. And yeah, hopefully you won't make that drastic a decision that causes that, but it's part of life. And it's part of the challenges of life. It's easy to enjoy something when it's going well. The challenge to me is to enjoy something equally when it's not going as expected. On a lot of these trips, you wouldn't believe what it's like traveling for 40 or 50 hours, going from terminal to terminal, trying to catch buses. I'm half the time I'm running around, I'm going crazy, trying to keep up with airline schedules, and I make it fun. I make every step of it fun. I could pass through that same trip miserable and complaining, or I can just have fun smiling. Either way, I'm going to do it. It applies to everything. When things don't go as well, all of a sudden you've got this huge debt. The challenge is to say, okay, I've got this. I'm going to overcome it. I'm going to take small steps. I'm going to be fine. This is how my approach to life. You never have a negative experience. You always learn from everything you do.
You said that rather than saying said words, you say adventure. How does that change the course of action?
Okay, like I talked about those two things, nervous and excited. I have a lot of friends. I swim. I swim for physical fitness. I swim on a master team. A lot of them, when they get ready to compete, they're so nervous. They're so nervous. I say, be excited. It's the same feeling. When you're excited, you have that same feeling. One is negative, one is positive. It's the same thing. It's how you mentally approach it. So if you say work hard, or if you say challenge, which one is more positive? Challenge yourself to see how well you can do. Life is an adventure. It's a journey, opportunity. There are all of these things you want to approach and think of, how can I make this enjoyable? And when you start, I got to really work hard. Well, that most people don't, that's a double negative for most people. But if you can have an opportunity to do something really, really well, I'm going to challenge myself to see how well I can do it. I'm going to feel good about my effort. No matter what happens, always feel good about your effort. We often try to do things. I'm trying to fix cars. Well, maybe I try fix 5 different things. Nothing is successful. I haven't done anything. But I take it one step at a time. Okay, that didn't work. That didn't work. I don't fault myself for that. It's part of a process. So you always want to be doing little steps, trying to stay positive. Sometimes you have to go backwards to go forwards. It's okay. It's part of the process. The challenge is to enjoy going backwards as much as going forward. It's 100% mental. We can learn to do this. And this is what I do. I really do. And I'm thankful for it. I try to share it with others, basically, that I'm no different than anybody else. And actually, I struggled worse than most people did. And yet I was able to achieve this through a mental approach to life that I try to share. And so I try to stay physically fit. I go to the gym 3 days a week. I work out an hour and a half, and I swim 3 days a week for 2 hours. So I'm essentially working out physically, 6 days a week to stay fit. Mentally, every waking second. All day long, I'm thinking about how thankful I am. I'm thinking about my accomplishments. I'm thinking, aren't I fortunate? Other people are struggling and they're doing this, and I'm so thankful. How can I help others have the same approach to life, especially students like you, where you're at a time in your life where if you can learn this now and take it with you forward, you're just going to have a really happy life. You're going to pass through the same road the same way, but you're going to look at it differently mentally. And once you learn that, everything is going to get easier. Everything is going to be good. You're going to have no negatives in your life. Is that not looking at reality? Maybe some people would say it is, but to me, it's passing down a road and enjoying the path and enjoying what you have. And that's what I try to share.
How have you conditioned your brain to adapt this mindset? Or were you always like this?
No, actually, like I said, I struggled from the time I can remember. I struggled. I hated school. Only thing I liked was playing sports. Everything else in my life was negative. So I was lucky. A lot of students, when they're growing up, they don't have sports. So anytime I was, struggling with things, I could go play sports and it would pick me up. I'd feel better about myself and what I was doing. Other people stay in this box where they're miserable all of the time. So for me, I don't know, it's somewhere, but when I was 18, I moved away from home. I actually joined the Air Force. I got away from home. I got on my own. And you mentioned something earlier about being independent and making choices on my own. Once I got to that state, when I got to be 18, got away from my parents telling me every day, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And I have the answers. And so between 18 and 19, my life just changed over that 1 year period. So by the time I got to 19, I just felt like, I'd done a lot in that year. I'd seen a lot of people around me who were successful and I thought miserable. And I don't know, a series of events within that year just changed everything about my life. And since then, I've developed it more and I understand it more. Probably in the last maybe 7 or 8 years is when I really started looking at why am I different and what makes me enjoy everything and what makes others so unhappy doing the same thing. We're engineers at Kennedy Space Center. We're making really good money. We're in this magical environment. We've got the sunny skies and everything to me about our lives are really good. Why aren't others appreciating it? So I just learned to develop this attitude and say, hey, I can share it with others and especially students. I really, really, and I just enjoy being around students of all ages. And I say kids. People said one time to me, a teacher said to me one time, why do you call them kids instead of students? And her approach was that they're students and you should speak to them that way. And for the longest time, probably 2 or 3 months, I thought about that question and I never really could come up with an answer. And then one day I thought to myself, I call you kids because you're people to me. You're not, students implies you're in school learning. Kids, you're just people. You're young people. You're growing up and you're having fun. So I want to look at you not as isolated as a student, but as a whole person. And so I say kids and not students. I hope sometimes it doesn't, kids don't take it the wrong way. She was implying that by me saying kids, I'm not elevating them in their age enough. I'm leaving them little or something.
Actually, you talking about school reminded me of something you said earlier. You were talking about how you needed this piece of paper to get those opportunities. Do you think this is still the system now? Do you think you still need to get a diploma to show how eligible you are in some sort of field? Or do you think it's skill-based now?
No, it's definitely diploma based, but diploma based should be based on skills. What happens is people in companies, or let's say engineering firms, they're looking for a certain type of person to hire, and they want certain qualifications from that person. So if you haven't been to the university, if you haven't been able to demonstrate, look, I've taken these classes, I've done the things, I know how to do what you're asking me to do, that's how you get hired. If you do not have that and you just say, hey, I can do this, well, what have you done? And so it's much, I say a piece of paper, but a university degree opens a lot of doors, and that without it you can't get in, no matter how talented you are. And not everybody has to go to university, but there are certain fields you want to get into. You need to have a university degree in order to do that. And for me, it was about generating income. I wanted to get better paying jobs because I needed the money to race cars. So it was more financially based than educationally based. But I tell students all of the time and kids all of the time, and I'll pass this on to you as well. One of the things I did when I went to university, so it took me 8 years at night to go to university, finish university. Our university is 4 years long. It took me 8 years because I was going at night and I was working during the day, so I couldn't take as many classes. But one of the things I did is I've never been a good student. I just don't like to read. I don't like school. But I knew when I went to university, I needed to get, my idea was, in America, we have a grading system that's based on letters, A, B, C, D. So A is the best, D is failing. So, I wanted to have a B, which is decent. It's good. It's above average, and I wanted to have a B. That was my goal when I started university, considering I did terrible in everything I did in high school and in all schools. I barely passed. But I wanted to have this B in university, so I'm taking all of these math and science courses, which I was really struggling because I don't apply myself. And I didn't apply myself, but I did enough to get like a C, which was passing, was okay. But in my mind, I said, I want to have this B. So I took this English class in university, and I got an A. And I thought, well, that was pretty good. Maybe every time I take a math class, I'll take an English class or a writing class. So I took as many English and writing courses as I did math and science courses. What that did for me, and what I encourage you and everybody listening, learn to write well. It's so important you learn to write well. Very few people do that. So when I finished university, I had that piece of paper, but I also could write very well. And I knew it was a separator because in those 12 years where I had those jobs, I knew the biggest knock on engineers, they were good in math and science, but they couldn't spell their name and they couldn't make a sentence. They didn't know how to articulate anything that they needed to write. And so I learned to write well. And when I applied for jobs, I would have a major. My major was math and science, but my minor is English and writing. So that opened a lot of doors for me. So learn to write well. It's so important. I did it by accident, but try when you get in university, try to take as many English and writing courses as you can. When you get older, you may have a great job and you may have this great idea about your job. And you're going to say to somebody, I have this great idea. And they're going to say, put it in writing. I'll read it when I have a chance. If you can't write well, your great idea might be misinterpreted and might be thrown in the trash can. Or often you have to write reports about something you've done. If you can't write well, if you can't write with only one interpretation, what you want the person to understand about what you wrote, they might misinterpret it, again, thrown in the trash can. So learning to write well is extremely important. Getting the education to give yourself opportunities as well.
I agree. Writing is like a branch of communication, and communication is a fundamental factor of being human. I think it's really what sets us apart from other animals who can't communicate to the certain degree and level we can. But honestly, I really like what you did with the taking English classes along with, math and science. So either way, you got the B.
I was really, really happy when I finished university. I had that B because prior to going to university, I had never got a B in anything. I failed almost everything I ever, barely got through high school, I have a twin sister. So when I was going to school in elementary school, the school was really crowded. And because I had a twin sister, they wanted to keep us together. So no matter what I did, they moved me to the next grade. So I really did nothing for the first 8 years of school, absolutely nothing except get passed from grade to grade to grade. And when I get into high school, it was really different. I failed everything I took because I didn't do anything. And I realized if I wouldn't have had a twin sister, I probably would have quit school when I was 16. We can quit school here at 16. But I just wanted to stay up with her. I wanted to get through high school the same as her. She was really smart. She was really, really, she knew when she was 3 years old, she wanted to be a teacher. Somehow at 3, she knew she wanted to be a teacher. So she loved school. I was always compared with her, and she was smart. She was never in trouble. She was always the perfect little daughter, and I was just the opposite. I did everything wrong. I was always in trouble. They would give us notes. They would give me notes when I was in school. Take this home. Tell your parents how badly you're doing. I would throw them away. They would give them to my sister. She'd have to carry them home. So, my life has been a lot of fun. It's certainly been interesting. And I say to people, I'm no different than most of you have done much better than me. Most kids do well in school, at least up to high school. Certainly they do well in elementary and middle school, and they don't hate it the way I hated it, and they don't struggle as much, I think, as I did with self-esteem, because I was always compared to somebody who was, in my mind, perfect. And I was just not only couldn't compare, I was totally opposite. I didn't care. It didn't bother me that I was happy for her. She always tried to help me. So there wasn't anything negative about it. I didn't like school, and I didn't like anything to deal with school, and drove my parents crazy because my parents had 2 kids. One did everything right, one did everything wrong, and they're looking at each other, well, what's wrong with this guy? How did we get stuck with this thing?
Actually, do you think that constant comparing with you and your twin sister, do you think that affected your relationship with her? Because I feel like it didn't, but mostly in these cases it would. So why didn't it affect it?
No, it didn't affect it at all. Actually, it strengthened it for me because she always tried to help me. She always tried to, anything she could do to help me, she did. Any way she could try to help with my parents, she did. She was really great about everything, but we were just so different, as far as our approach to the day and listening to our parents. I just wanted to do what I wanted to do. My parents would tell me to do something. Maybe I wanted to do it. Maybe I didn't. I would just, but with her, she was always great. She always tried to help me, and I always admired her. I always looked up to her because she did so many things well. But in the end, she struggled worse than me in a lot of ways. So as a girl, she had, like many girls, they struggle with how they look and how they perceive themselves. She did excellent in school. She did well in many, many different ways. But, feeling good about herself, she never really had that, and she struggled with that. And so I actually, up until, like I said, between 18 and 19, I was struggling. And then from 19 on, my life has been, every day's been a blast. It's just been so exciting, so much fun. I'm sure you make mistakes along the way. You have these learning experiences. You do things that you wish you wouldn't have done, but you only learn from them, and you can't fault yourself for what you did based on when you did it. And you try to make the best of each day and help others. I think if you treat others with respect and you're kind to others, everything else will fall into place.
I hope she's, at more peace now. And one thing I want to add is that you can't really compare a cat's ability and a fish's ability to climb a tree equally. Same like how you can't compare a fish's ability to swim and a cat's ability to swim equally. You guys are, the thing was, I think what was happening to you was you were being molded into this shape that did not fit you, in the sense that school was probably not your strong suit, but otherwise you became a great engineer.
Yeah. So yeah, it's all about desire and all about choices. At the time, I just didn't want to do the things they wanted me to do, and because I didn't want to do them, and I tried to do them, and I didn't do them well, it took away from my self-esteem and my ability to do everything other than play sports. So I think the big difference to me and with a lot of kids growing up who do struggle in school and struggle away from school and struggle in many, many ways, I always had sports. So any time that I maybe not didn't feel good about something, I just played sports. When I was playing sports, I felt great. I was happy. I had this world that I could enter where I felt good about myself and I felt good about what I was doing. And for parents, they're what are you going to do when you grow up? I want to play sports. Well, you can't play sports. You got to go to school. I don't want to go to school. So, you have this constant battle of them only, I have some students write to me, many write to me. My parents are so mean to me. I want to do this and they want me to do that. And I tell them, look, your parents are doing what they think is best for you. You may not agree with it, but I promise you, they're looking at what they think is best for you. Just try to do what they say. Try to follow their advice. When you get older, you can do what you want. But try to not fight with your parents about this kind of stuff because you can't win and you just put yourself in a worse situation. But most of the time, for me, I was just in a different world than my sister. Her world was, she loved school, she loved teaching, she loved everything about it. She wanted to be a teacher. Everything she was doing was taking her to this goal, this dream, and she was enjoying it tremendously. At least that side of it. The other side of it, where she struggled, it was tough for her. I didn't realize it at the time. I learned later that she struggled a lot. But I'm very thankful for the relationship we have, and she's still a teacher. She's still teaching now, and I try to talk to her as often as I can and see her as often as I can. But I'm very thankful for everything she did for me. She tried to help me every way she could. I never felt anything but positives towards her.
That's honestly a really great bond. But I have a question. You said that every time you were feeling down or insecure, you played sports because it made you feel good about yourself. Do you think that if she also played sports and she was better than you in sports and you were constantly being compared to her in sports, do you think you would have dropped sports?
I often look at my sports career, and I love playing sports for the joy of playing sports. Some people, they play sports, they have this burning desire to win or this hatred of losing, so it drives them to do more and more and more. I played sports because I had fun doing it and I was good at it. I didn't have that. So I think hopefully if she would have played sports as well and would have been better, I don't know how I would have approached that. It would have been interesting because she was better at most things, but I didn't really compare myself to her. I don't remember thinking, I wish I could do the things she does, or I wish I could be like her. I don't know. That's a very interesting question. I'm not sure how I could honestly answer it, but I would have always hoped that I would have looked at everything she did and been proud of her for her accomplishments. And because of her accomplishments, just like now, I'm very competitive, but I do swim. I compete with some people that swim, and we're very competitive to see who can win and who can't. Like we swim like 50 meters, so we race for 50 meters. When I don't win, I feel happy for the person that did. I don't feel like I'm lesser because I didn't. It's about, okay, did I do my best? And if I did my best and I didn't win, okay, and I can't feel fault with that. I can try to do it again and try to do better. But I never feel fault about what I've done if I've done my best. And hopefully I had that happen. I mean, she was good to me at everything she did. I don't remember much about sports. At that time, girls didn't really play sports the way they do today. Girls today are much more active, playing all sports just like guys. Say 50 years ago, they didn't do that. They were, things were much different. Girls had certain roles, and they really were not taught to be athletic, taught to go to the gym, taught to be physically fit. They're more homebodies, and it was a much different world then, much different than today. And it's much better today, I believe. Girls were really taught to be wives and moms and take care of the house and this kind of thing, and not to have a career. And the role, I think, has changed tremendously. But women today still, to me, do 90% of it. When you're an adult and you're married and you got 2 or 3 kids and you got a job, most likely, and I I don't know how to break this to you, but most likely you're going to do 90% of the effort while your husband may do 10. He maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you'll find a guy that's 50-50 and helps you with everything you do, and Part of the problem is, but most moms do everything for their sons. They cook for them, they clean for them, they do everything for their sons, and so it doesn't matter with the culture that they do everything for their sons. So the son has expectations that the wife is going to continue what the mother was doing, and most of the time you don't even get appreciated for it. It's just expected. So I think even today, I think that's true. But women do a lot more today. Most women have very successful careers, but they balance a successful career with taking care of house, taking care of kids, managing the budget of the house, doing the shopping, doing the laundry, doing the cleaning. You know, most women are. I'm amazed at how much you do, or you as women do, that we don't, and how capable you are of doing so many different things.
I really think that's unfair. But I think that's
Life is
sorry.
things aren't always fair. You have to define fair. Uh, it's pretty much. I say all the time, life as a guy is much easier. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just is, and also most women they want to do that. They want to take care of their house. They want to take care of their family. They want to do that, and most of them do it better than the guys anyway. So if you depend on them to do certain things, you're going to be thinking half the time, I could do it better, and you can. And so in the end, you end up doing it anyway, just because it's more efficient and you're in control. And you, so I mean, that's the way I see things anyway. I'd like to think that maybe I'm wrong, but I'm around many women. Majority of teachers are women, so I'm 90% of the teachers I'm around, and I'm around teachers all around the world are always women. So I'm around many women, and I know they juggle all of these things around the world. It doesn't matter. India, Pakistan, Norway, Denmark, Germany. It's the same all over, and it's interesting to me. Just how much women really are leaders in many situations, and guys just listen, or fight with them, and in the end they're proven wrong, but they'll never admit it.
Yeah, that's actually right. What I meant by unfair, and if you want me to define it, by that I mean the double standards with being a parent and holding a full-time job. And also, I think that even if you want to have all these things, I feel like it should be extremely divided because if the guy is expected to work a full-time job and the girl is expected to work a full-time job, then why should she juggle the house and kids? Anyways, yeah, that's not really a question. That's more like a statement. So
Yeah,
let's go on to the next question.
no, I agree with you. I agree exactly what you're saying, and yeah, it might seem unfair, but it's reality, and part of the reality is that women want to do that. They would like to have the help, but they want the help the way they want it. And when they get the help, it's not as good as what they want, or it's not the way they want. It's often just easier to do it themselves. It's more efficient. They're in more control. They can move things along better. I think women are amazing organizers and able to jump from role to role in the blink of an eye. And yeah, I'm in awe. I'm in awe of most women's ability to do things. Guys, guys have certain abilities as well. We do things differently, but as far as organizing and managing and taking care of a house and kids and the job, I just think women are just so much better. Probably because they've been conditioned to do it. When they were growing up, they see their moms doing it, they see other women, adults doing it. They just learned that this is what I'm going to do, and in many instances, I think they do it because of that, but also because they are just so good at it that they're going to do it better than someone who's not as good.
I think the reason why men aren't as good is because every time they try, like you said, the women is going to take it and be like, oh, let me do it. I
Yeah,
can do it a bit better.
that's very true. And I'll always tell moms, with sons, you realize you're training somebody's husband. So the more you do for this guy, the more he's going to expect when he gets married. Make him do dishes, make him clean the house, make him do the laundry, make him do all of the things you would with a daughter, and see how he responds. And it's probably going to be a struggle, but if he responds and learns to do that when he becomes a husband, he'll have a lot easier time doing it. But very few moms do that. They just the baby, their sons.
I think that I think that people, especially kids, they learn from their parents. Like me personally, I used to copy the way my mom sat, the little uh, her little habits. I also copied those, and I completely copied her. So if the father was to wash the dishes, then the son would probably do it.
If the father did it, but it's got to start somewhere. The cycle has got to change. Most fathers aren't going to do it because their fathers didn't do it, and so somewhere along the line the cycle has got to change. But yeah, you have a very good perspective on life, and you have a great way of, for your age, you have a great way of looking at things and understanding and listening to me. I really appreciate that you do listen and you are evaluating and you are adapting.
Oh, thank you. You're too kind. You said that you've been to 18 countries, correct?
Yes.
Having visited 18 countries, what do you think Pakistan is doing wrong? In the sense, why is poverty such a big issue in Pakistan?
Yeah, well, I don't know much about Pakistan or about the Pakistani government or I've only been to Pakistan twice and the first time was amazing and the second time I don't understand governments and I don't want to try to just Pakistan has the poverty it does and also has great wealth and great accomplishments and great universities. I know there's a lot of poverty in Pakistan, and I don't know why. I don't understand. One of the things that frustrates me most with Pakistan is the relationship between Pakistan and India, because both countries to me are amazing, and the people of both countries are absolutely amazing. I was flawed when I went to Pakistan to see how many highly intelligent and how many dedicated and determined and kind people are in Pakistan. The same as I see India. I had kind of spent my whole life looking at India as a positive thing, very smart people. I always felt that the people in India were without a doubt the smartest people in the world. Doesn't mean they're better, but there's something genetically that makes them really smart, especially in math and science. And I always admired the people from India. Plus, the people I met from India in America were always happy and always seemed to be fun to be around. So I had all these positives in India, while I had all these negatives of Pakistan. And when I came to Pakistan, I realized, Pakistan and India to me are the same. The intelligence of the people in Pakistan is the same as that in India, which is extremely high. The ambition, everything about the two countries to me, why can't you? One of the things I've done in these interviews, which has been kind of frustrating to me, is that speaking with kids in Pakistan, maybe 10, 11 years old, and they would say to me, well, I'm supposed to hate the people in India, and I don't know why. Speaking with kids in India about the same thing, I'm supposed to hate the kids in Pakistan, and I don't know why. So it's learned behavior. You mentioned about becoming like your mom and saying things like your mom. Many adults, when they become adults, they will say to themselves, "I sound just like my parents, and I said I would never do this." It's that learned behavior. And it's the same thing with the Pakistan and India. The kids have been taught people are bad, people are wrong, but you're identical to me. Somebody put a line in the sand somewhere and said, this is Pakistan, this is India. Before that line, you are identical. There's no difference whatsoever between the people. And I try to stay away politics in other countries. I don't even like it in my own country. I don't know why Pakistan has this, a seemingly high poverty rate. I'm sure India does as well. India became the most populous country in the world, more than China. So there's billions of people in India, and many are struggling due to lack of food and lack of education, and it's the same in Pakistan. I don't know too much. I hate to get into the Muslim versus Christian thing. Seems to me that's more of an issue in Pakistan than it is in India. But overriding, I don't know why. Governments are governments. They should be doing things for the people. And instead, I think many governments are based on power, greed, and ego. And people get into politics and they forget about trying to help the average person and think more about their own successes, their own egos. And, I just have a challenging time understanding why governments can't be more proactive towards helping each other instead of fighting. I hate wars. I think the war in Ukraine and Russia is insane. What's going on in Israel and Palestine is insane. Thousands and thousands of people are getting killed for what? what is going to be the ultimate goal. The people who are getting killed and the people who are being suffering the most, they're just average people. They're walking around. They just want a happy life. They don't want to be fighting and killing. The governments that initiate it, and then they get dragged into this mess. And so for me, it's always about, trying to help each other, trying to find positives and trying to get along. And I wish I had an answer for that question. Many people write to me from Pakistan. Many are poor, many are struggling, and more than any other country in the world.
For someone who isn't into politics, you have great perspective. I honestly hate the division between Pakistan and India because I feel like it would be very beneficial if we were more united. And I'm sure you think the same from what you were saying.
I think 100%. So one of the things I did, in October, I went to Pakistan and India, Sri Lanka, and Dubai. And so I spent about 10 days in each country. And I went to Pakistan and I learned so much about the Pakistan people and the kindness. And so I was in Pakistan and India. So one of the things when I was in India, every school that I visited in India, I said to the teacher, if I can connect you with a school in Pakistan, would you be willing to write back and forth? Every teacher said yes. When I was in Pakistan, I did the same thing. I said, if I can connect you with schools in India, would you be willing to communicate? Every teacher said yes. So I tried to link these schools together as much as I could to get the kids talking, because I had a friend in India. She's really, really smart. She's in charge of a space exhibit. She's so much good. And she told me, she said, hey, Gabe, one day we had to have a bunch of students from Pakistan come and stay with us. And we spent 2 weeks together, and it was so much fun. I enjoyed every aspect of it, but I'm supposed to hate them. And I don't understand why. And she's in her mid-20s, very smart, very well educated. So to me, it's sad because I know you're wrong. You're identical. You're the same. You have everything in common with each other. Pakistan wants a space program. Pakistan really would like to get a big space program. But you've got India right beside you. You're both extremely intelligent. You both have so much you could offer if you joined together. And, even in Asia type of thing, you've got Sri Lanka, you've got all these other countries around you that if you could learn to join together and help each other out, I think there would be limitless at what you should do. I don't understand politics. I don't know why India and Pakistan, I know hundreds of years ago there was some fights and somebody took somebody's territory and they're still fighting over the religion and all. I don't understand all of that. All I think about is what can we do today to make our lives better? And if we can learn to get along, trust each other and help each other, and that has to start at the governmental level. When these governments, when they basically tell the citizens, I've got to protect you from this other country because they want to kill you, they want to steal your money, whatever, so that's what people are taught, and that's how they live. And I know that the average person walking around in India does not want to kill anybody in Pakistan. The average person walking around in Pakistan does not want to kill anybody in India. You all want the same thing. You want to be successful. You want your kids to do well. You want to have a happy life. And you just want to enjoy each day. Everybody is the same around the world.
I agree. To be honest, it's more like a fight between the governments than it is with the people, because I feel like the people themselves, they're really compassionate for each other, and they put this full war behind themselves, at least from most of them that I know.
Yeah, and you're right, and it's going to be kids like you, and as you get older, you try to bridge that gap. You try to find a way to communicate in a way that you respect each other and you feel good about each other. You don't hate each other. It's really amazing to me. The older the people that are, and it seems to me it's mainly guys, the older the guys are, the more hatred there is for each other. And, hopefully as these people attrition out, they will be replaced by others who don't have this negative view. The students I spoke with in Pakistan about the students in India, they have mutual admiration. There was no hatred amongst them, but there needs to be a way to connect them. And as long as the governments are fighting, to me, it's going to be impossible to do that.
Yeah, that's right. But to be honest, you're really contributing to that bridge, especially from how you said that you were connecting Pakistani schools to Indian schools.
Yeah, that's what I tried to do. I tried to set up a communication with kids.
How did it go?
It went very well. I found a few schools that are willing to do it. It's more challenging than you think because it's asking people to deviate from the norm, and but it was positive. I didn't get one negative thing from it, but I know there's a lot of hatred, especially with the older generations in both countries. And again, I'm not a historian. I don't really understand the politics of who did what 100 years or 200 years ago and who took what. I know it's an ongoing thing that at some point, hopefully, they just say, look, we're here. Let's make the best of here. Let's try to forget everything that, got us to here. And can we get along? Can we help each other out? And can we make the world a better place? It's probably just, a unrealistic way of looking at things, but everything starts with a thought. Everything starts with a dream. And it's going to be you and your generation that's going to want to change it. And if you do want to change it, enough of you want to change it from both countries, you will. And I really hope at some point the two would unite and be supportive of each other, because you really are identical to each other. There's no difference.
You visited both, right? So
Yes.
when you say you really are identical, exactly what are you pinpointing?
The way you act with each other, the way you approach life, the kindness you have for others, just the general day-to-day life of people. You are the same, and you're the same the world over. Everybody is basically the same as far as I said. Sometimes I went from Pakistan to Norway, so Pakistan is Asia. It's so different than Norway. Those two countries could not be more different. In Pakistan you have dark hair, dark-eyed, dark-skinned people. In Norway you have blonde, blue-eyed, light-skinned people. You have opposite cultures. You have opposite everything, but yet the people are the same. They're identical. I could be visiting a school in Pakistan talking with 20 or 30 students. I go to a school in Norway talking with 20 or 30 students. You're the same. You act the same with each other. You interface with each other the same way. You're identical. It's absolutely amazing to me. And it's only learned behavior that your parents teach you, or your friends teach you, or governments teach you, that pit you against each other. But to me, I would love to see India and Pakistan come together as a joint venture and see how much you could accomplish together versus fighting each other politically and in many different ways. It's interesting to me. I understand Pakistan speaking English more than I do Indians speaking English. The Indians, when they speak language to me, they speak English very fast, and they I love listening to it. It sounds amazing, but I don't understand it because it's kind of joined together, and I can't really describe it. But when I went to India for the first time, I was really excited to go to India. I've been trying to go to India for years and years, and I never could find a way, and I finally found a way to go. So I was really excited to go, and one of the things I was in awe of when I went to India, I'm thinking, these are really, really smart people. I'm just basically a beach bum hanging out racing cars. How am I going to relate with these really, really smart people? Especially when I'm talking about, dreams and goals and the space program. But it was absolutely amazing. It was so much fun to go there. And the very first thing I did, it was during a big celebration at universities around India. I don't remember the celebration, but it was a big celebration. All the universities were having parties and celebrations. And so I was going in as a speaker as part of all of this. And because I'm associated with NASA, anytime you're associated with NASA, they elevate you someplace where they think you're special, which I'm not, but I have a cool job in a cool place. So I'm at this university, and I'm sitting on this big stage, and there's probably 700 or 800 people at university in the audience, and we're sitting there, and I'm introducing these people. This is Dr. So-and-so and Dr. So-and-so, and here's Gabe coming from Florida, and I'm with all of these people, and I'm thinking, what am I doing here? What am I going to do with all these smart people? And the guy next to me, he says, are you ready to give your talk? And I said, what talk? He said, you have to talk. And I said, when? He said, now. I said, about what? Whatever you want. So that was really interesting. So I'm walking up to go talk. I'm thinking, what in the world am I going to tell these people? I'm not prepared. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. So the first thing I said,
I love the way you speak English, but I don't understand the word. So I kind of talked about the fun of being there and having fun, and everything went really well. People were so kind. And when I got to Pakistan, my expectations were so much different. India, my expectations were very high, and they were met. Pakistan, my expectations were very low, and they were exceeded beyond my wildest imagination. So I think the two countries, people of the countries are the same. Very smart, very kind, very caring. When I was in Pakistan last time, I went with a good friend who grew up in some of the poorest places in Pakistan, and he took me to where he grew up and some of the really poor places where he lived. And no matter where we went, no matter where we did, no matter how poor the people were, the first thing they said, have some tea, have something to eat, come into my house, I want to welcome you. So, this was a very special kindness that I got from the people of Pakistan that I get everywhere else as well. But I just knew in Pakistan my expectations were so low compared to anywhere else in the world, and they were exceeded in every way. And yeah, I know there's a lot of poverty in Pakistan, and I can't. I wish I had an answer. I really don't. I wish I had an answer for poverty around the world. And
Behind all the rubble, behind all of the structures you might see, I think that Pakistan honestly has a really big community. I want to ask one more thing. Despite you knowing that, despite you thinking, or what do I say, you had very low expectations for Pakistan, correct?
yes,
But you still came. Why did you come? Were you? I don't think you were forced.
that's a really interesting question. So 2 years ago, I was in Norway in December, and I got an email from somebody in Pakistan saying, we're having a Future Fest in Pakistan in January. We would like you to come and be a guest. And so the first thing I thought, well, what is this from Pakistan? What is this? In my mind at that time, Pakistan was three things. It was a haven for terrorists. It was a haven for suicide bombers, and there were terrorists everywhere trying to capture Americans for ransom or just to kill you. So this is my expectations going in. And this is because all we ever hear about Pakistan is on the news. And the news around the world is extremely negative. So having never been there, having never met anybody from there, only listening to the news all of these years, especially after 9/11. 9/11 was not, Pakistan was made out to be this is where the terrorists went to hide out. So we had very negative ideals of Pakistan, and it's just been reinforced over these years. So when I went to Pakistan, I went there with this kind of belief. When I got this email, I thought, well, this doesn't make sense. Pakistan doesn't have science fairs. Pakistan doesn't have this and that. And so I kind of blew it off a little bit. Then I got a follow-up email. We really like you to come. We'd like you to be a speaker and all this kind of stuff. And so I said, well, look, I'm in Norway right now, and you're asking me to come to Pakistan in January. There's really not time to get the visa. There's not. And the person I was talking to, her name was Hafsa. Hafsa, she was my point of contact with this Future Fest. She said, don't worry about everything. I can take care of it. I can make sure everything is going to be fine. So I said, okay, let's see what happens. And I got back to America. And when I get back to America, it's Christmas time here. So all the government agencies are closed. Everything is closed, and I'm supposed to be in Pakistan with my visa and everything like the middle of January. And I'm thinking, there's no way. So Hafsa called me and we spoke on the phone. And as I'm speaking with her on the phone, just like I'm speaking with you, I'm very impressed. I'm thinking, this woman really knows what she's talking about. And no matter what I say as obstacles, she says, we can do it. We can do it. Don't worry about it. I can do it. I can do it, no matter what it was. So I was so caught up in her positiveness that I went along with it and said, okay, let's see what happens. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, there's no way. There's too many obstacles, not just in the logistics of trying to plan the trip, trying to plan the airfare, trying to plan the hotel, all these different variables. I'm thinking there's no way, based on all of the traveling I do, I know what it takes. But she kept being positive. She kept being positive. She kept being positive. In the end, she did everything she said. She got everything right. She got everything she said she did. She could do, she did. I was so impressed with her, and she, to me, changed my whole perspective of Pakistan. This one single person, just by dealing with her over a few weeks period of time. Plus, she sent me pictures of the venue where this was going to be held. Pictures of Pakistan, of beautiful, beautiful architectural places. It was going to be in Lahore. Pictures of the city of Lahore, and my whole perspective changed. So it was amazing. It was like 2 days before I was supposed to leave. We got everything settled. We got everything ready for me. I was so excited. I was on my car to the airport. So I was going to leave in Florida from Miami, from Orlando, which is one city, to Miami, another city. It's about a 1-hour plane ride. And then from Miami, I was going to Dubai. And so I'm on my way to the airport, and I get a message: your flight is canceled from Orlando to Miami. There's bad weather, and no flights are going to Miami. So I thought, well, what am I going to do? I can't make my connecting flight. And in the end, I couldn't get another flight, so I did not go. But my whole perception of Pakistan changed in the most positive way. I knew I was going to India and to Sri Lanka in October. So I went back to Hofstra and said, look, I can't make Future Fest, but I'm going to India and Sri Lanka in October. Would it be okay if I came to Pakistan as well? And she said, yes, I'll take care of everything. So that's how I got to Pakistan the first time. And that's how my whole perception of Pakistan changed. And when I got to Pakistan, it was so unbelievably different than what I imagined. And everything about it was positive. Yeah, I saw a lot of poverty. I saw a lot of the things you're talking about, people living in terrible situations. But I also saw the kindness, most generous people I'd ever met in my life, smart, caring, just a whole world to me that I've been exposed to. And since I've come back, everywhere I go, you got to go to Pakistan. People in Pakistan are really, really friendly. And when I was in Pakistan, I was getting my friends in America saying, get out of Pakistan, get out of Pakistan. The Americans are being threatened. There's a travel advisory, and I'm traveling all around Lahore, and I'm feeling really comfortable. And so my perception of Pakistan changed because of a girl named Hafsa. And we're still in touch all the time. She still occasionally calls me and updates me on how she's doing. So she's my BFF, my best friend forever. We really have a special friendship, and I'm thrilled to share it with her. If you think you have a problem, my best friend is blind. I never have a problem. I can see. I think about that all of the time. You can walk, you can see, you're a smart girl, you're going to be successful in anything you choose. You have a lot of obstacles in front of you, a lot of challenges. It's okay. Enjoy what you have. Be thankful along the way.
Wait, so I have a question actually to add on that. Is your best friend born blind?
No, he actually he has a disease called retinitis pigmentosa. It's a disease, it's a hereditary disease. It's passed on to you from someone in your family. When you have it, you will go blind. There's no cure. There's no treatment. You will have it. You will go blind. So he went night blind. He was, when he was about 18 years old, all of a sudden he couldn't see at night anymore. And then his vision regressed and regressed and regressed. So probably about 6 years ago, he went completely blind, 100% blind.
And how does he live with that?
It's really interesting. It's tough when you know you're going to go blind. And the most interesting thing is I met him when he could still see. He was legally blind, but he could still see a little bit. And we had these shuttle launches, these spaceship launches, and we would go to the launches, and because of the brightness of the engines, he could see the light from the engines. So he loved going to see that, because even though he couldn't see anything else, he could still see the light from the engines. And he was in terrible fear of going 100% blind. At least if he could still see a little of something, it was something. But he knew he was going to go 100% blind. About the time he went 100% blind, he had come to me and he said, look, out at the Space Center, we have a 5K race. We race 5K every year. Everybody does. And he said to me, I want to do this 5K race. And I said, okay, let's go do it. But he said, I'm going to walk it. And I said, I'm not walking 5K. If we're going to run 5K, we're going to run 5K. And I said, let's figure out how we do this. And so him and I started walking around. I was talking to him and saying, hey, there's something on your left, there's something on your right. And we walked around, and then we started running, and we learned to run. And then he went out of line and found out, if we hold the rope, you hold one end of the rope, I hold the other, we can run this way. It's a lot easier than constantly talking. So we learned to do that. And then we advanced into triathlons. So triathlon is swimming, biking, and running. So we have to do all three of these events with him being blind. And one of the most interesting things, when we're doing these triathlons and we're doing these events together, people are cheering, people are clapping. When we're finished, people are coming up to him and saying, I'm so thankful to you. I have a son or daughter who's blind, or I have somebody in a wheelchair, and you've given them hope. You've given them hope that they don't have to stay in the house all the time. And I'm so thankful for doing this. And he said to me, he said, you know, Gabe, I found out a reason for my blindness. I always wondered, why did I go blind? Why did this happen to me? And now I know it's so I can help others. I'm able to do this and help others who are struggling as well. So I thought that was the most important, the most significant thing anybody has ever said to me in their life. They know why they're blind, and they're accepting it, and they're relishing it. And now he's doing these things, smiling and happy because he knows he's helping others.
Do you think that when you both were at the, I believe it was the shuttle launch, and he could see it, do you think that brought you closer to NASA?
Probably without thinking about it, it did. Now that you say it, it probably, you know, it's such a special thing that you have somebody who can't see anything, but all of a sudden can see a launch. In some ways, it probably does bring you closer and without thinking about it. But yeah, based on what you just said, I think it probably puts NASA in even a better perspective, because NASA is able to help an individual who can't see, where you don't think of NASA ever having that capability. But just in this instance, it did, and it really helped him a lot, and me as well, because I was sharing it with him.
It takes a lot to drop that victimizing mindset. I wanted to ask actually a question. You worked with NASA, so I'm sure they keep you updated with the news and possibly missions. Do you think NASA takes it to the extreme when it comes to experiments that some might consider cruel or too ambitious, such as the Mars trip, in which 4 people were sent to Mars voluntarily, I should have mentioned that, and would be living in a 3D printed habitat for a year, isolated, which would be distressing to say the least. Do you think this approach was necessary? I forgot to mention that it's a one-way trip. Do you think they could have done something about that?
Okay, so no people have been to Mars yet. People probably won't be to Mars for 20 or 25 years. NASA has no intentions of sending people to Mars to stay there. There is a commercial company called Year One. Year One is a commercial company that is doing, as you say, they're offering people a one-way trip to Mars, and for a price, and this is in the works. And you can Google it, Year One, you'll see what it's about. These are people who have signed up to go to Mars on a one-way trip and stay there. So I honestly believe when it's time to get on this ship, nobody's going to be there. But people have signed up to do this. NASA's plan is to send people to live on the moon and learn to see if there's life on the moon. These people will come back. They're not going there on a one-way trip. They're not going to live in a habitat that's not safe. There's a movie called The Martian. Have you heard of this movie called The Martian?
No, I don't think so.
So it's on YouTube and Netflix. When you get a chance, just see it. It's about astronauts who are living on Mars, and there's a serious incident, and they have to leave Mars. And they leave one behind thinking he was killed in the process. So it shows how he's surviving on Mars by himself and how he's trying to communicate with the people who left to come back and get him. And it's a cute little movie, but it shows the reality of living on Mars. People will live in Mars on a big domed area where air is put in, temperature is controlled, everything is controlled. They take off the spacesuit. They live in a normal environment, as normal as it can be on another planet. And they'll stay there. The issue with Mars, it takes 7 months to go to Mars. So if you want to get on a ship, the planets are going around the sun different speeds and different orbits. So if you're here, Earth is here and Mars is here, you're getting on a ship and you're going from here to there. So as the planets are coming close together, it takes 7 months from the time you leave till you get there where you're close enough to land. Then it takes 23 months before you're close enough to come back. So going to have to survive on Mars for 23 months. And this is one of the challenges. We could probably get to Mars and get back now. Probably not possible. But we cannot survive on Mars for 23 months because of the terrible environment. So NASA in the future, what NASA is going to do, NASA is going to send people to the moon. They're going to live on the moon. They're going to learn to live on the moon. From the moon, they're going to go to Mars. So when people go from NASA to Mars, they're going to be well qualified to live in this environment. They're probably going to pre-stage a whole bunch of equipment. So when they get there, they'll just put this equipment together so they can have a place to breathe. They can have a place to take off the spacesuit. The weather is terrible. You can't breathe the air. You can't drink the water. It's a nasty, nasty place. So there has to be a habitat created where they can live, and that's what will be happening in the future. Commercial companies like SpaceX, countries like China, maybe India, maybe Japan, maybe Russia, they will try to send people to live on Mars for this 23 months, probably before NASA goes. But I don't know at this point. We're not sure what's going to happen. But going to Mars is extremely challenging. Surviving on Mars for 23 months is extremely challenging. These people who are going on this year one-way trip, right now it's just talk. I don't know that I heard about it like 4 or 5 years ago, and I don't know if they're any closer to going now than they were 4 or 5 years ago. But that's not probably the norm. Most people that go to Mars will go with the idea they're coming back.
Do you think that NASA is taking the safer route?
Yes. Everything with NASA is safety orientated. NASA, much more than commercial companies, much more than other countries, I believe, safety is the primary issue. Everything to do about NASA, everything aspect of NASA is around safety. And since it's not a commercial company, NASA gets its money from the government. So it doesn't necessarily have to show a profit. It's more of a educational and experimental entity. So it's not about making money, although NASA does a lot of things that generates income. And NASA does a lot of things.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. Just want to say something to you. I'm really sorry. My kid is taking a long time from you. I really know that she wants to speak her mind, but I'm really sorry that she's taking a long time from you.
Well, I want to say to you, don't be sorry. I'm enjoying every second of this. She is
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I was a bit confused, like, might be she's taking your time, your valuable time. I'm really sorry about that.
No, please don't be sorry. Listen,
Okay.
I do this voluntarily, and I speak with the students as long as they want. I have no problem. She's a bright girl. She's listening. I'm having a lot of fun speaking with her. I will stay on as long as she likes, and I do this.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I do this with everybody. It's not just unique to your daughter. I do this with everybody, and I again, I get more than I give. So the fact that I'm sitting here talking with her, I'm enjoying every second of it. I'm not thinking I want to get off and go do something else. I'm thinking
Appreciable.
Yeah, no problem at all. And I said that to her as well.
My mom does have a very valid point. Before I end it, I just want to say that, if I'm correct, NASA is also more environmentally friendlier than SpaceX. Is that correct?
I don't want to say, I don't want to speak for anybody, but I would say yes. NASA, SpaceX is a commercial company, so they're going to follow all of the rules. They're going to follow all of the guidance. They're not going to do anything they shouldn't do, but they're probably going to be on the edge of what they should do and shouldn't do because of cost. Everything is cost driven. With NASA, it's not necessarily, it is cost driven, but not the same. It's not a commercial entity. It's a government agency. So I think NASA is probably more liberal of the interpretation of the rules, but I think SpaceX and any commercial company in America is going to pay attention to environmental constraints and have to deal with them. So but I think only in this aspect that because of money, NASA may be more liberal in what they're doing. But I wouldn't say any company in America is not trying to stay within the rules and guidelines of environmentally safe.
SpaceX is owned by the richest man.
Yes.
So how much of a restraint on budget do they really have?
I don't know. That it seems like they have They have quite a big budget, and they do things that cost a lot of money, but they're doing amazing accomplishments. They're doing more than any other entity, I think, in the world, and they're making faster and faster improvements, and they're quite an amazing company to me, and it is because of the money that they're willing to invest, and they're getting something back. I mean, they're not just giving; they're getting back. They're right here in America.